All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ole Miss After Dark. Me and Hitch are back once again, just like we are every Tuesday here with y'all. We're going to talk about navigating this 2024 football schedule for Ole Miss. A very anticipated year, obviously, for the Rebels. College football playoff hopes. We've talked a little bit about it. It's not really hopes; it's kind of expectations at this point. You're expecting to make the playoff, and we'll kind of go game by game. Talk about times, TV networks for the ones that have been announced so far, and just how we think it's going to end up playing out. See if Ole Miss can get to that college football playoff, the new 12-team playoff starting this year. And then in our second segment, we're going to go to college football unique experiences. There was a, a tweet put out. I guess it was what was it Monday hit something like that, Sunday or Monday, whatever it
Yeah.
was. Uh, that a guy had putting out about the 13 most unique experiences in college football. It came from Cadler Schechterson, I guess is his name. But we'll run through all of those and talk about the ones that we would like to experience. Obviously, the Grove is on there. We'll get into that. And then we're going to go off the rails on a topic that Hitch pretty much hates, but I absolutely love. So we'll kind of run through that a little bit too. I'm sure most people will hate it. I'm going to be in the minority liking this one, but that's okay too. So, but let's start off with this 2024 schedule. Hitch. Ole Miss opens up the year in Oxford at 6 p.m. at night against the Fighting Paladins of Furman. Going to be a real tough game there for the Rebels, I'm sure. And that's on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus.
Yeah. Should take care of business, right? You hate to go into a season
We
with so
better,
much.
or the rest of this show is not going to matter.
Yeah, it's one of those things where superstition and being the underdog or being scared of the underdog comes into play with sports, because as highly touted as we have been right this season and the past few seasons, we've come to expect that we should put up, 70 points against Furman and hold them to 0. But you don't want to just come out and say, yeah, we're going to win that game, because in the back of your mind as a fan, you go, did I just screw us? So we should take care of business. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, in the back of your mind, you keep going back to 2010 and Jacksonville State and all that nonsense that happened, right? Yeah, that was frustrating, obviously. But I don't think we're going to have to worry about that with this team. We're so talented, seem to be locked in here. I'll run through these other three non-conference real quick. You get Middle Tennessee State in Oxford, 3:15 in the afternoon. That's on September 7th, so that's going to be a nice, cool day in Oxford. I'm sure won't be any heat to speak of whatsoever. Right there in the middle of the afternoon on the SEC Network, and then we travel to Wake Forest the very next weekend, 5:30 p.m. start on the CW. That's what you get when you start traveling to ACC teams, right?
Yeah,
that's
I saw a lot of people just talking about that.
Disaster. Absolute disaster. But it is what it is. ACC won't be around long enough to even care about it too much, I guess. But then Georgia Southern comes in. Thankfully, this game is in Oxford and not in Statesboro, because we all know how tough it is to play down there in Statesboro, especially when Georgia State's the one playing as the home team down there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're unbeatable as far as I can tell.
Unbeatable. Yeah.
But I mean, just real quick on these three games, we had to spend a lot of time on them, but they are more difficult opponents than Furman, right? MTSU can. I mean, I've put money on them before, last year, and so
that tells you a little bit. What are you talking about?
Right. Well, yeah. Wake Forest, right? It wasn't just but a couple of years ago. What was that kid's name that played there? Sam Hartman, the guy from Notre Dame. Didn't he come from Wake Forest? Maybe. And they had a pretty explosive. They had a pretty explosive offense, if I can remember correctly. So I mean, that game's probably not a gimme. And then like you said, we have to go to Wake Forest too. I just realized that.
It's in Winston-Salem.
Is that the first game? Right, it has to be the first game where we go, okay, this is a serious one, right? Like we have to take this seriously.
you never go on the road against a power conference opponent and just take it for granted, right?
There you
Even when
go.
you go up to Nashville, right, to play Vanderbilt in Nashville, you should win the game, and it shouldn't be particularly close. But if you take it too lightly, what was it, 2 years ago when we went up to Nashville? That thing was a little too close for comfort at halftime. I think we had to score a touchdown going into half to even have the lead at halftime. That was a really, really bad Vanderbilt team there. So yeah, going on the road against a power conference opponent. Wake Forest isn't the worst ACC team. Kind of like you said, they've had guys come through there. Sam Hartman being one of them a couple years ago before he jetted off to Notre Dame. Wake Forest is a pretty good program though. They're generally competitive. Not something you need to take lightly. It's a game we should handle. Should handle with relative ease, just from a talent disparity standpoint. But you better have your head on right and be locked in going in there and put the pedal to the metal right at the beginning, take all the air out of them in the first half, and then maybe you'll be able to cruise after that. But definitely don't take them lightly. And look, I think Georgia Southern's the same way. They're a respectable group of five team. They're a team that's made some waves in the last 5 or so years in the group of five level, right? If I'm remembering this right, and if I've got teams mixed up, I apologize. It was 2 or 3 years ago they started making the transition from that triple option offense to a more modern day spread type offense that you see in college football throughout the country, really. So transition period there. But look, from an athlete standpoint, Georgia's absolutely loaded top to bottom in that state, and you still have Florida there, Alabama, the Carolinas, Mississippi, not too far away. There's a lot of guys, especially in today's NIL era, that slip through the cracks in high school, right? Look down at South Alabama. They're a really good group of five program, but what you see them doing is going and plucking all of these high school players that would normally end up on SEC rosters, the 24th, 25th guy signed in a signing class when you had caps on how many you could sign each year. Those guys aren't getting opportunities in the power conference level, whether it be ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10. They're not getting those opportunities because of the transfer portal and the NIL. You see the bigger teams like the SEC teams, ACC teams, teams like that. They're filling their roster out with transfer portal guys, and what is normally the top half of their high school recruiting class is filling out the overall class for them. And that's where you get guys kind of trickle down to that group of five level. And when they get down there, they start developing, right? And they start getting better. And so there's guys that stay in those programs 2-3 years, and then after they finally develop, become big time players, they end up transferring to one of these power conferences. But Georgia Southern's one that you need to keep your eye out for. We should definitely handle business when they come to Oxford on that September 21st, 6:45 kick on SEC Network. But that's the kind of things you need to look for with teams like Georgia Southern, those group of five teams, because they're going to have athletes just slip through the cracks, and they're going to develop them into good players. So you need to keep an eye on that and make sure you're taking care of business, because you ever let them get any momentum going, especially in an environment like inside an SEC stadium in Oxford, Mississippi, let them start believing a little bit. That's when things can get a little bit hairy. So kind of like same thing with Wake Forest. When those guys come into town, foot on the gas, pedal to the metal, take all the air out of them in the first half and don't let them get anything going.
Yeah, I think you said it much better than what I was trying to say with Wake Forest. That's the first game on the schedule you look at and go, we can't take that one for granted. We've got to go up there and play.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but overall should be 4-0 coming out of that stretch though. And then we get into the grind of the SEC schedule, right? The following Saturday, 11 a.m. kick in Oxford, Mississippi. ABC or ESPN hasn't been settled yet, but Kentucky comes to town. And I know it's a lot different team. Obviously, they had Levis last time they came to Oxford, but that was, a one-possession game, came down to the last drive, had to get that fumble there from Will Levis to seal the game for Ole Miss. That was a really close game. You always know what you're going to get out of Kentucky. They're going to be tough as hell. They're going to play defense. and they're just not going to screw up. That's what they don't do. They try to force you to make mistakes, and they don't make any themselves. Going to be a tough game in Oxford. That's really the first one I'm looking at that we really need to bring our A game.
Yeah, that one that you're talking about 2 years ago, like that almost felt like a turning point, or it felt like a much bigger game than it actually was. It felt like that was the game where, I don't know, everybody started believing that we can win these close games that we've always coughed up, right? We can win those. And so I think, because of that, this feels like it's probably going to be a closer game than it should be. And it probably will be, for all the reasons you gave. I mean, Kentucky runs the football well. They're going to play defense well, and they're going to not make mistakes, make you make those mistakes. And, we should win by a couple of scores. But again, it's probably going to be a lot tighter than what we're thinking, especially that first SEC game at 11 a.m.
Yeah, and that's going to be. I haven't looked at Kentucky's schedule to see if that's going to be their first SEC game or not. But if it is, they're breaking in a redshirt freshman quarterback, Brock Vandergriff, really highly touted coming out of high school, transferred from Georgia. He was a freshman last year, but I would assume that's at least going to be his first road SEC start at the very least, if not his first SEC start overall coming into Oxford, Mississippi. This will be a fun little game, Hitch. I don't even know if it's out yet or not. What would you put the point spread on Ole Miss hosting Kentucky at 11 a.m. that morning?
10.
10? I was thinking 10.
No, we're at home. We're at home. We're 10, less than 13, right? Like not 13, but not 10 either. So I mean, somewhere in there. You don't see
more
many
than
college
two
games
scores, less than 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't see many college games, or you don't see many games in general that are 11, 12, unless there's a bunch of action on them. But like I said, it feels to me like one of those games where I don't know that 2 touchdowns wins it, but 2 scores probably does.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, and then after that, let's see, we will so the very next week, hit the road to Columbia, South Carolina. Me and you touched on this a little bit a couple shows ago. That's a really, really tough place to play. I think it's going to be really big what time slot this falls in. Right now, that's a flex, anywhere from 2:30 to 7 o'clock Central Time start there. So I think we really need to avoid a night game there because that place can get really loud, really rowdy if it's a night game. Get that sucker in as early as possible. They're going to be fired up with Juice Wells coming back to Columbia with all the drama that they had last year with him. Going to be a really interesting game, though, traveling to Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, I don't like this game.
I don't either.
I would almost wish, I guess the only other game you could replace it with would be Arkansas, like that meets that. And I hate Arkansas too, but I almost wish that we were playing Arkansas on the road this early in the season and get South Carolina. And I don't even know that it's because I think South Carolina is a great team or they're better than Arkansas. I just think that going to South Carolina and Shane Beamer just knows what he's like. There are times that those guys just pull it out of their ass somehow. And it always feels like at home. That's what I was going to say. It always feels like it's at home, and it always feels like it's against like a top 10 team that they have no business playing with. And I hope it's not this game. Again, that's the negative. I realize I'm being very negative right now. But on the plus side of that, wasn't it, what did we talk about? 08, where we went to South Carolina
Thursday night. 08,
and so we've got some things to accomplish in South Carolina, and so maybe we can get there and get that win on the road. I think this will probably be another close one. Right. This feels like a game that's good. This feels like a game that's whoever has the ball last wins. And so I hope it's us.
I feel like this is probably a game that when the lines come out by the time the actual game week gets here, you're probably looking at Ole Miss 7.5, 8.5 point favorite, something north of a touchdown. And in that scenario, I actually like South Carolina to cover it. This could very easily be a one-score game, at least under a touchdown, right? Because of how well they play. And look, they've got South Carolina's schedule, the way it sets up. There's a chance for them to be, I want to say it's like 3-2 coming into this game, something like that. But that's assuming they go on the road. Yeah, and LSU at home though. That's I think it's their third game of the year. They get LSU at home. Now you let them beat LSU
Georgia
at home.
No, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
Okay, I thought so, but
making us look like idiots.
You're sitting there looking at your screen. Yeah, that's
making
us
look like idiots again, Hitch. Oh boy.
Yep. You make us look like idiots, and I pull us back up from the trench here.
No, wait, no, I'm right. I'm right. Nope, I'm right. Yeah, they got Southern Miss. Wait, we're talking about South Carolina?
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so I'm right.
I was still looking at Kentucky. That's on me.
See, that's on me. Come on, dude. Where's that Georgia
when I mess it up, the Georgia. That's what was throwing me off, is because you kept saying LSU. Georgia Kentucky's game 3, at home or for Kentucky, right?
Okay,
September
so that's
14th.
too.
Yeah, that's what I. That's why I pulled it up.
South Carolina goes to Kentucky.
Well, that's why I pulled it up, is because you said you didn't know Kentucky's schedule, and so Kentucky's schedule sucks, right? They've got Southern Miss first, and then they got South Carolina at home, and then they've got Georgia, right? So they play 2 SEC games before they even get to us.
But both of those are in Lexington, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, Kentucky might be licking some wounds by the time that comes around. Then I think Kentucky probably ends up beating South Carolina at home, but then you have to play Georgia after that before coming to Oxford. That's going to be tough.
And you're right.
South
LSU,
Carolina, if they're able to,
LSU,
if they're able
South
to
Carolina
get that Kentucky game, in Columbia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, if they're able to pick up that game, get some momentum going before Ole Miss rolls into town, then South Carolina.
Something else, man. Look, I'll tell you something else too. They get Old Dominion, right? Kentucky at Kentucky, LSU at home, then Akron, then they get a bye before us too. They get a bye week before we come to town too. So I really hate this game.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, still think it's one Ole Miss will win, but look, this is the SEC. You can't overlook any single game, but that one in particular scares the hell out of me, going to Columbia, South Carolina. So hopefully the boys are ready by the time they make that trip. And then look, you don't have any time to regroup, because as soon as you're done there, you get to travel down to the Bayou and play the LSU Tigers. It's a night 5 to 7 game. TV to be announced. They haven't announced that yet. This is the stretch for me that really is going to determine Ole Miss's season. You go to South Carolina, to Baton Rouge, and then you get a bye week, right? So that game in Baton Rouge, I think the lines have come out and we're 2.5, 3-point dogs, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be a really interesting game, though. See if Nussmeier's as good as people think he was. He's been backing up Jaden Daniels the last couple of years. See if the defense has improved. That's what really killed LSU last year, because Jaden Daniels put up unbelievable video game type numbers, and they just couldn't stop anybody. And you saw that in Oxford last year when we were able to just win in a shootout, basically. So that's going to be an interesting game. Do you have anything on the game in Baton Rouge?
No, other than the fact that we can win in Baton Rouge. I mean, we've done it before at night, right? Like, so.
Do you know when the last time was?
I don't, but I know you can tell me, because I know that. I know that you know this because you've told me this before.
2008.
Yeah.
It's been 16 years.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is I knew that it was a while ago, but I also knew that it wasn't as far back as I was thinking it was too, because I was thinking 2003 or something.
Yeah. Now, well, and on top of that, we've played close games in Baton Rouge. We
Yeah.
haven't been able to seal the deal. It's not like we've gone down there and just laid an egg for the last 8 trips or anything like that. But yeah,
Yeah. So to
it's
me, that's
nice.
the
We
big
haven't won
one.
that in a while.
It's at night, right? So that's
Yeah.
the thing that stands out is that we know it's going to be at night. We don't know what time, but it doesn't really matter because it's in October, so it's going to be dark, right? The lights are going to be on.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that stands out is what comes right after it. I think that bye week comes in a really good spot.
I do too. Yeah.
Because like you're saying, I mean, you go to South Carolina, to Baton Rouge, and then if you had to turn around and the next week play Kentucky, then go to Arkansas, man, that's tough. But you do get a little bit of a break in there to get home. Hope you probably get healthy after that LSU game.
Yeah, and you're actually wrong again, but lucky for you, I'm here to straighten you up a little bit. You go to South Carolina, go to LSU, get the bye week, and then you come home for Oklahoma,
That's what I said.
not Kentucky.
That's what I said.
You said Kentucky.
I'm in Oklahoma. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I can't wait to play this back just to find out that you actually did say Oklahoma, and I'm the one that screwed that up.
I don't know. We'll find out. But I meant Oklahoma.
It'll be on TikTok tomorrow, I promise.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know that bye could come at a better time.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be rethinking that, here in a minute once we have to, play Georgia. I wish that bye was there, but
yeah.
I think after two tough road games, the bye is going to look like it's going to look like a vacation for a week there.
Yeah. Like I said, you end up getting that bye, come home, play Oklahoma. We talked about Oklahoma a little bit when we did our team by team schedule breakdown of who might be in contention for the college football playoff, stuff like that. I was a little surprised how down I was on Oklahoma, but I just don't think the way that they're built, they don't seem to be set up right for the grind of an SEC schedule. This is one of those games that's going to get them having to come on the road to Oxford, a team that's in all likelihood going to be either undefeated or have only one loss, probably top 5 team in the country at that point. Vaught-Hemingway Stadium is going to be absolutely nuts, even though it's an early game, 11 a.m. to noon. But again, it's going to be packed out. And that's one thing Oklahoma's going to see, well, and Texas too, for that matter, all of these packed out crowds week after week every time they go on the road. So really like Ole Miss in this spot here. It's actually one game I'm not terribly worried about. I like Ole Miss to win by double digits, quite frankly.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, which I hate that we agree. Sometimes makes me think we're both wrong. But
probably are.
But I mean, I was thinking the same thing as I was sitting here. Oklahoma. If you were to ask me what the line's going to be on this, I would say that it's probably 10. But I think Ole Miss wins by 2 touchdowns, if not 3 scores, like 17 points. Right? I think Ole Miss at home against Oklahoma just turns it up with that, like you said, that home crowd. And I don't know how true this is, but I feel like you've got 14 teams in the SEC with 2 new guys coming in, right?
16
and so
now.
You look at those 2 new guys and you go, okay, well we've got to haze them, right? We got to rough them up, let them know that they're the new guys. Well, you're not going to be able to do that to Texas, right? I don't think, and so I think Oklahoma's probably going to take the brunt of when they go to on the road. I think Oklahoma's going to have a tough time.
Yeah, I do too. The next game that following Saturday, another early game, 11 to noon. But look, it's a place that Ole Miss has really struggled, particularly when we've had really good teams going on the road to Fayetteville. I like the fact it is an early game. It's in November. So, a little bit of a break, it not being a night game, but we've had our fair share of nightmares in Fayetteville, Arkansas, especially when we ourselves have had the better team and have had expectations on our side.
Yeah, Arkansas every year is the game that I dread. I look forward to LSU, oddly enough.
Yeah, I do too.
But man, I
not Arkansas.
I dread Arkansas every year, and this year is no different because it's 11 o'clock game in Fayetteville. Yeah, I don't have anything to say about that. So I hope we beat the shit out of them.
Oh yeah, me too. And then the big one, you get the Georgia Bulldogs into town the following week. This is going to be the national game of the week. I feel pretty confident in saying that. I think it'll be 2 top 5 teams going head to head. Big variance in the flex here. 2:30 to 7, the start time from there. Just kind of depends how everything shakes out. No TV
2:30 is
either.
2:30 is the time, right? That's the time everybody wants. That's the prime time. Not 7, not night. Yeah.
2:30 is going to. That's pretty much your SEC game of the week. The 2:30 ABC game, what used to be CBS. Obviously moving over to AC this year. But I think 2:30 is probably where this game's going to end up falling. I know that most Ole Miss fans, and hell, probably coaches and players too, want this at least flexed out to the prime time ESPN 6:30, whatever that is. Get a night game in the vault against Georgia. Would bring huge ratings. I feel like you're going to get a big number.
That's why I asked you. Is to me the 7 o'clock game or the 6:30 game, whatever, would be the prime time game. Like that would be the game that I would want and the game that I would be looking forward to watching. But for whatever reason, with college football, it seems like 2:30 is the prime time. For that.
Okay,
and I get it, but it's just different for me.
Yeah. So on that, it's different this year because they're going to ABC. They're not doing CBS anymore. In the years past, even last year, when CBS was the official carrier of the SEC or whatever, had that 2:30 SEC game.
You're fixing to piss me off.
They were
because it doesn't have anything to do with the television.
No,
you're saying to me CBS that prime time doesn't have anything to do with the time of day. It has to do with the television station.
No, that's not what I'm going to say.
Okay.
The reason that your SEC game of the week was always on CBS was because they're separate from ESPN, and CBS always had first choice, and so they just pick the best game every week. Obviously, right? They pay all the money. They get to pick the best game. Well, now with it being ABC and ESPN, they're partners. It's the same thing. It's under the same umbrella. So you're not necessarily going and putting the number one game in this time slot because the one's paying it. ESPN's paying all of it. They're under the same umbrella as ABC. Now they're going to pick and choose which time slot's going to get the best rating for that game. Do you want your best SEC game going up against, like, I don't know who plays in the Big Ten that particular week, but say
Ohio State, Penn State, right?
That's exactly what I was about to say. Do you want Ole Miss, Georgia going up against Ohio State, Penn State on Fox that afternoon? Or do you basically want it going unopposed at 6 and 6:30 on ESPN? Or if the Ohio State, Penn State's at night, and you can have Georgia and Ole Miss stand alone by itself on ABC at 2:30 where all the eyes are going to be. They just have a lot more flexibility to where one certain game's not going in one certain slot because this network has the choice to do it. Now it's all under the same umbrella, all the same network. So they're going to move it around to get the best ratings. That's why you see so many flexes up and down the schedule.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Makes sense. I just hate. I don't know. I just hate today. Maybe my heart's just full of hate today. I'm sorry, Derek. I'm sorry.
You got to let it out. If your heart's filled with hate, you got to let it out, man. But obviously, huge game in Oxford there against Georgia. I think it's come out 7.5 point favorites for Georgia, something like that. Haven't looked at it in a while. Travel down to we get a bye week after Georgia, but we get a bye week though. Play Georgia, get a bye week, go to.
So we get two. We get 2 bye weeks this year. We always get 2 bye weeks.
Yeah. No. Okay. No, now you get 2 bye weeks. That started this year. So again, another good spot though, because you're going to be beating the hell out of playing Georgia, especially going to hit the road in Gainesville. I think this is a blowout for Ole Miss. I traveled to Gainesville when we went down there last time when we were a top 10 team, when a roided up Will Greer kicked the shit out of us down there. you'll never convince me that they didn't get the test before the game. They conveniently got them right after it ended, but whatever. So revenge is on the mind of the Rebels here. Go down there, kick shit up. They're going to be dead in the water anyway. Their schedule's so brutal. They're probably going to be a 2-win team by the time the Rebels come marching in there, 2 or 3 win. Billy Napier probably already fired. So the storyline's going to be Lane Kiffin coming to interview in Gainesville for the Florida job, and he's going to do it on the field by putting up 700 yards and 50-something points.
Boy, I love that scenario. And it does make me feel better now that you let me know we get an extra bye week here. Because when I was looking at this, I was like, my God, like that. Talk about the ultimate letdown spot, right? If we come out of that Georgia game with a win, there is absolutely 100% no way we go to the Swamp and win the next week. No, I promise you, we don't. None. No, that's the letdown spot of the century. But with that bye week in there, that's huge. I mean, that Kiffin and the coaches can recenter focus. They can, again, probably get healthy because I mean that's going to be a slaughterhouse and
very physical game
on the lines. That bye week does make me feel better. I'm not quite as confident about as you are with what we're going to do down there. The Swamp, tough place to play, always has been. I think we win, but I don't think we go down there and just dominate.
Dude, I'm willing to lay up to 16 and a half that game. I mean, we're going to go down there and throttle. Not worried about that one whatsoever.
Hey, I love the confidence.
11 o'clock kick there in Gainesville, ABC or ESPN. And then we get to that Friday. Mississippi State Bulldogs roll into town. 2:30 kick in Oxford, Mississippi on ABC. As I mentioned, that's Friday, November 29th, day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. Jeff Lebby makes his return to Oxford. And if I know one thing about Lane Kiffin, and I don't know very much, I've literally never met the man, he is really going to want to put on a show with Jeff Lebby in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. So before you get into that, so do you like the move to Friday? I don't know that we've talked about it, actually.
No, I hate it. I'm one of the few people that hate it. I like it on Thanksgiving. It's always been our Thanksgiving tradition. Now we don't travel around, go see a bunch of family and stuff like that. We used to either tailgate on campus. We used to either tailgate on campus and cook our Thanksgiving meal on campus, or we'd gather at my dad's house and cook it there and watch the game. So no, I hate it being on Friday, but I understand why everybody else likes it on Friday. I know I'm in the minority, so I'll just take that and.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, not everybody plans around it like y'all do, but what y'all do is pretty cool, like tradition. I'm on the other side of it. I like it the move to Friday, or even Saturday if it wanted to, just because there's so much going on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And my wife hates it so much because I'll be like, we gotta get home. Game starts at this time, and she's just like, why are you in such a hurry? It's like, I don't want to miss any of the game. Right. And so it's at 2:30 on that Friday. So I love it being at that time because it's right in the middle of the day. There's nothing going on. It's probably on by so that used to be what the LSU Arkansas time slot.
Yeah. There's nothing else going on that day.
If I remember, there's nothing else going on that day.
It's actually an ABC triple header. I can't remember the morning game, but then it's us and State at 2:30, and then I think Georgia Tech at night, all on ABC.
Yes, I like it, but at the same time, I can see why you don't like it.
I hate it, but completely. Again, I understand. I'm in the minority, so.
And I think you're 100% right about what Kiffin needs to do, plans to do, wants to do. Put on a show. For Lebby, I don't know. Maybe you saw this. I saw a tweet the other day that said, and I didn't read it, but it said that Jeff Lebby decides what he's going to call Ole Miss. Or how he's going to refer to Ole Miss? You didn't say it. I'll look it up and try to find it. But I was assuming it was probably the school up north. Is what I assumed. I hope not. Like I hope they don't get into like just the hatred of the rivalry. Like I like shit talking, me, but I also don't let it get too personal, because that kind of ruins it. But I think State comes in and we roll them, obviously.
Yeah. Well, one thing Jeff Levy needs to be more worried about than what he's going to call Ole Miss is that he's going to keep some of them pounds off. My man's blown up since he's gotten out of Oxford, so we need to get that back under control and stop worrying about what he's going to call Ole Miss, because he's got an ass kicking coming on Black
Busting out
Friday.
them Blue
So
Devils.
that's right. I mean, just costing them a fortune and extra denim every time they've got to redo them things.
Good.
But anyway, so I think Ole Miss, in the grand scheme of things, you're looking at a 10-2 season. I think is our baseline. I think there's a clear way for us to get to 11-1 and to get our way into the college football playoff. I think that's kind of like you said. What was it, like minus 150 something or something like that to make the college football playoff last week?
I think it was less than that. I think it was like minus 122.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at the schedule overall, there's obviously one game that stands out where you go, we probably lose that one. Not that we probably lose it, but you look at it and go, there's a game I can see clearly we lose that one. It's Georgia, right? They're as good or better than we are. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 games that are coin flips almost, just because of where they are on the schedule and where they are location wise. You got South Carolina, LSU, Arkansas, and Florida.
Tough road games.
I mean, if you get those 4 games, I'm with you, right? I think 10-2, 9-3, right, is just about right, because you say we take every game except for Georgia, and then the other 4 games we go 3-1 in those. That puts us at 10-2. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm looking at.
I think that's optimistic, but I also think that's realistic at the same time.
Well, I just think that's what you're going to have to do to make the playoffs. So, I mean, if you have playoff aspirations, then you're going to have to find a way to, sure, you can drop the Georgia game. If you're going to lose in Baton Rouge, you better find a way to take the rest of them.
Exactly what I was fixing to say. If you're looking at it from playoff aspirations, then you can chalk the Georgia one up. I'm not saying we should do that, but I'm saying in your mind, you say take the Georgia game out of it. Those other 4 games are the biggest games on our schedule this year.
Yes. Right? Yeah. You kind of get a free shot there with Georgia, depending how the rest of the season's played out by the time they make their way to Oxford. So that's the schedule breakdown there. Real quick, let's get into these unique college football experiences. I'd seen this whenever it was, I guess it was Monday, and just thought it would be fun to kind of go over real quick. He's got them listed out again. This is Calder Scheckterson. Yeah, whatever it is. But he lists his top 13 unique experiences in college football. Number 1, he's got sunset at the Rose Bowl. Number 2, Tiger Stadium at LSU at night. Number 3, Penn State's whiteout. Number 4, Enter Sandman on a Thursday night at Virginia Tech. Number 5, Iowa's first half wave. Number 6, Red River at the State Fair. Number 7, Jump Around at Wisconsin. Number 8, the Grove at Ole Miss. Number 9, Howard's Rock pregame at Clemson. Number 10, Sandstorm at South Carolina. Number 11, Ralphie at Colorado. Number 12, Checkered Neyland. And number 13, Florida's Ode to Tom Petty. Out of all of them on this list, obviously me and you have both experienced the Grove in our lives. What's one you would pick out that you want to experience outside of the Grove?
There's 2 of them that stand out to me. Tiger Stadium at night, right? I'm sure you've probably been down there. I've never been down there.
No,
I would love.
I've never been.
Oh, really? And I would love to experience that. I bet it is crazy how they talk about how loud that place gets, and registering on the Richter scale and stuff like that. And one of the I wouldn't call it a small thing because it's a big deal, but one of the things that gets overlooked for me when it comes to that experience is what they've done at midfield. When they put that eye of the tiger like out there on midfield, it's really, really cool. And then the other one is I'm going to go outside of the SEC, right? I'm going to go to where I'm going, Blacksburg, right? That Enter Sandman on Thursday night would be incredible. I've never experienced it,
Yeah.
obviously, but I remember in college, VTech played almost every Thursday night. It seemed like they played all the time on
Yep.
Thursday night, and you would get to see that and what those fans going nuts, and it was awesome.
Mhm.
How about you?
Yeah, that's actually my number one. If I had to pick only one, it would be the Inner Sandman on Thursday night. Kind of a lot like you were talking about. They back when we were growing up, it was Virginia Tech on Thursday night, damn near every single week. That was just their
Mhm.
time slot. It seemed like, and you can just feel it when that whole stadium starts rocking, singing Enter Sandman. Uh, that would be really really cool to experience. And then another one that I think would be really cool. That's a lot of fun to watch on TV. Sandstorm at South Carolina. That place gets really raucous when that gets going. And also jump around at Wisconsin's another one I think would be fun. And from a more sentimental standpoint, I think it's really cool the Iowa first half wave when they wave to the Children's Hospital behind them after the first quarter. I just always thought that was pretty cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
Enter
As
Sandman
I
and
was
Blacksburg,
reading through
that's
them,
something that would be fun.
I saw that one, and I just immediately thought, "Oh, I hate Iowa. Like, whatever, that one sucks." And then I started reading it, and I started feeling real bad. But yeah, no, that is a great gesture. It's cool, and the Penn State one, right? The whiteout that
Yeah,
looks cool on TV, right? I mean, it's
yeah,
really cool. But yeah, I think I I hate the Tennessee one, and I hate the Clemson one, and I hate the Florida one.
yeah, yeah. Now I love Tom Petty. Let's just make that clear
Well, there's
right
nothing
now.
wrong with
I
Tom
love
Petty.
Tom
I just
Petty.
don't.
Yeah,
Ain't nothing wrong with Tom Petty. That's not.
yeah.
I don't know. That
Dude,
song is not
I've
what
been
people think it is.
Uh, I've been to Gainesville. It sucks. Everything about that city sucks. I hated every
Nice.
single second I was there. So, yeah, definitely not picking Florida there. So, but yeah, I just thought that was a cool little list. Though. I thought me and Hitch
Yeah, it is a
should
cool list.
say something about it. So, there's that. All right, now real quick for our off the rails segment. Something that I realized this week. I've always known this about myself, uh, but I was brought back to it this week, just kind of scrolling on my phone. I found it, downloaded it, and I play it 15 to 20 times a day. I love Minesweeper. Like it's probably my favorite computer game when you actually had to have a computer to play stuff like Snake, uh, the Oregon Trail. I know it's one me and you talked about a little bit too, but solitaire, but give me Minesweeper all
Yeah.
day, man. I love the strategy of it and the math of it. It's all about math and chances. If you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many bombs are going to be around that number, then you count them off. But then you got the one bomb down here on the 2, and then you've got to figure out where the other bomb is, but you've got a 3 over here. So you know
Yeah.
that 2 of them are on this side of it because on this side you can only have 1 because that's connected to the 2. And dude, I just love the mental gymnastics of figuring all that out.
Right. And the party bone's connected to the drinking bone. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have the patience for it, I guess, because my
I know I
mind is
don't even do it
going
as fast as I
90
can.
to yeah, mine's going 90 to nothing. And so I remember playing Minesweeper as a youngster, but
Hmm.
I understood the rules. But the only thing was just I just hit random once until you lose. Like that's how I played. And so you're
You
telling
didn't
me
win a
that
lot.
there's a better way to play. Um,
Hmm. A
no,
lot better.
I was more. I mean, we're talking about. I still play solitaire on my phone actually sometimes. So I guess maybe
Oh
we're
yeah, I do
both
too.
old men.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I've got
but
solitaire on there too.
man, the Oregon Trail. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? If we want to get into computer games,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, I was in the gifted class, right? Like, I mean, I know all
We'll
about
probably have to
these
be an
computer
entire
games,
different show when we start diving into
right?
old computer games.
Yeah, man. I wish I could get on board with you, Minesweeper. I can't. It it is so confusing to me, even though I like math, right? And we talked about it
Hmm.
before we jumped on here. I mean, it's basically gambling, and I love gambling. Right? It's
It's
math
not
and
really
taking
gambling if
risks.
you do it right, though. But it's not gambling
Sure.
if you like if you get down to like the last like 2 to 5 bombs. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you match it up, but you always run it down because if there's only 2 bombs left and it's all in one little square, well, you know that it can't be this one because this one's shared with the other 2 numbers, and you got to have 2 bombs out of it. So that's got to be a freebie, and that's got to be a bomb, and so it's not really gambling.
Well, here's what it is then. I need there to be a gamble. I need there to be a chance that I lose. It can't be a game that I win every time or there is a winning
You're
play every time, right?
now,
Yeah,
now it's going to come
but
down
if you
every
do it
now
right,
and then.
if
Every
you do
now
it
and then
right,
it'll
you
come
said
down to where you have to guess.
okay, all right. Well, when that happens, send that game to me, and then I'll play that.
Okay, deal. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop in the middle of a Minesweeper game next time
Take a
that
picture
I'm
of
out
it,
of
and I'll tell you which
logical
one.
moves. Yeah, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna screenshot it, send it to you, and you tell me which one to pick in my 50-50 shot.
I'm gonna say 500 on the one on the left.
There you go. Now, and we'll holler up. Let me see, either DB or Mikey. We'll get one of them to take the other side of the bet.
Oh, without question, probably both of them.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Probably both of them have a dang three-way going there. That's gonna be wild, man. Dang gambling Minesweeper.
Yeah, gambling
Gonna be a good
Minesweeper
time.
3-way. Here we go.
That's right. That's it. All right, we'll go
That's the
ahead
name of
and
this episode.
end
That's
on
the name of
that
this
high note.
episode, by the way. No, that's a
Yeah.
T-shirt. That's a T-shirt.
Oh,
Gambling
yeah.
Minesweeper 3-way.
There you go. All right. So first great idea on Ole Miss After Dark has come to fruition. We'll start printing the shirts. Y'all get y'all's orders in now,
Yep.
and we'll let you know a ship date on them. But appreciate everybody joining us once again. Obviously, you can find us on YouTube, how most of y'all do, at the SC After Dark YouTube channel. We obviously post these live on Twitter when they start going up at 6 o'clock every Tuesday night. Find us on Spotify as well. Just search Ole Miss After Dark, and you can find our Spotify account there. Has all of our episodes, even all the way back through all of the Dids in the Dugout episodes. If you want to go back with some player interviews, stuff like that.
Classics.
So that's right. That's right. Classics. Kind of like the Oregon Trail and Where in the World was Carmen Sandiego. Same thing.
And Tom Petty.
And Tom Petty,
See what I
my
did
man.
there?
God,
See what I did there?
God rest his soul.
TikTok too.
All
We
right,
got
Mitch.
TikTok now too.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Go find us on TikTok. Hitch doing a good job putting out basically the entire show in like 1 minute snippets over there, so y'all can find it that way as well. So, but I appreciate y'all stopping by, listening, interacting, all that good stuff,
Thank you.
and we will see y'all again next week.
Hotty toddy.